Les Chants de Maldoror, sections 3 and 4, book 2, by Le Comte de Lautréamont. Section 3. May the day never come when Lautremont and I pass one another in the street, brushing against one another like strangers in a hurry. Oh, let me flee forever far from this thought. The Eternal One has created the world as it is. He would have been very wise if, in the time strictly necessary to break a woman's skull with hammer blows, he had forgotten his sidereal majesty for a moment, to reveal to us the mysteries amid which our existence stifles like a fish flailing on the ship's deck. But he is great and noble. He prevails over us by the might of his conceptions. If he parleyed with men, all his disgraceful acts would be flung in his face. But, wretch that you are, why do you not blush? Is it not enough that the army of physical and moral afflictions which surrounds us should have been created? The secret of our shabby destiny is not even revealed to us. I know the Almighty, and He too must know me. If we chance to be walking along the same path, His sharp eyes see me coming from afar. He crosses the road to avoid the triple platinum dart which nature gave me for a tongue. You will do me the favor, O Creator, of letting me give vent to my feelings, wielding my terrible ironies in my firm, untrembling hand. I warn you that my heart will contain enough to keep on attacking you until my existence ends. I shall strike your hollow carcass, but so hard that I undertake to knock out the remaining portions of intelligence which you did not want to give to man, because you were jealous at the thought that he would become your equal, and which, cunning bandit, you had shamelessly hidden in your bowels, as if you did not know that one day I would discover them with my never closing eyes, take them away, and share them with my fellows. This I have done, and now they no longer fear you. Now they deal with you on an equal footing. Come, kill me, and make me repent my boldness. I bare my breast and await you with humility. Appear then, derisory spans of eternal punishments, pompous displays of overrated qualities. He has proved incapable of stopping the circulation of my blood, which defies him. Yet I have proofs that he does not hesitate to stop the breath of other human beings in their prime, who have scarcely tasted the delights of life. It is quite appalling. In my humble opinion, I have seen the Creator whetting his feudal cruelty, kindling fires in which old men and children alike have died. It was not I who started the attack. It is he who forces me to turn around with my steel cored whip like a spinning top. Does he not himself provide me with the accusations I use against him? My terrifying verve will not flag. It thrives on the senseless nightmares of my sleepless nights. And this has been written for the sake of Lautremont. So let us return to him, fearing that he would become like other men later. I had at first resolved to stab him to death once he had passed the age of innocence, but I reconsidered and wisely abandoned my resolution in time. He does not suspect that his life was in danger for a quarter of an hour. Everything was ready, and the knife had been bought. It had a fine and delicate blade, for I like grace and elegance even in the instruments of death. But it was long and pointed. Just one cut in the neck, carefully piercing the carotid artery, would have been enough, I think. I am glad I acted as I did. I would have regretted it later. So, Lautremont, do whatever you wish, whatever you please. Lock me up forever in a dark prison with scorpions as the only companions of my captivity, or pull out my eye till it falls to the ground. I shall never reproach you in the least. I am yours. I belong to you. I no longer live for myself. The pain you cause me will not be comparable to the joy of knowing that he who wounds me with his murderous hands is steeped in an essence more divine than that of his fellows. Yet It is still noble to give one's life for another human being, and thus to keep alive the hope that not all men are wicked, since there has been one who overcame my mistrust and aversion and attracted himself to my bitter sympathy. Section 4. It is midnight. There is no longer a single omnibus to be seen, from the Bastille to the Madeleine. I am wrong. Here is one, which has suddenly appeared, as if from under the earth. A few late passers-by are looking at it attentively, for it does not resemble any other. On the open-top deck, men are sitting with fixed, unmoving eyes, like dead fish. They are hunched up tight beside one another and seem to be lifeless. Apart from that, the number of passengers permitted by the regulations has not been exceeded. When the coachman whips his horses, you would think it was the whip moving his hand, not his hand moving the whip. Who can this group of strange, dumb people be? Are they moon dwellers? There are moments when one should be tempted to believe so, but they are more like corpses. The omnibus, anxious to arrive at the last stop, tears through space, making the roads rattle. It is disappearing, but a shapeless form is madly pursuing it in its wake, amid the dust. Stop, I beg you, stop. My legs are swollen from a day's walking. I have not eaten since yesterday. My parents have abandoned me. I do not know what to do now. I have made up my mind to go back home, and I would be there soon if you would let me have a seat. I am only a little boy, 8 years old. I trust you. It is disappearing. It is disappearing, but a shapeless form is madly pursuing it in its wake and the dust. One of the men, cold-eyed, nudges his neighbor and seems to be expressing his displeasure at these silvery moans which reach his ears. The other imperceptibly nods his head in agreement, only to plunge again into motionless self-absorption, like a tortoise in his shell. Everything in the expressions of the other travelers indicates that their feelings are the same as the first two. The cries can be heard for 2 or 3 minutes, becoming shriller every second. Along the boulevard, one can see windows being opened and the frightened face of someone with a candle in his hand, who, having looked out into the street, slams the shutters to again and does not reappear. It is disappearing. It is disappearing, but a shapeless form pursues it madly in its wake, amid the dust, amid all the stony faces. Only a young man, absorbed in reverie, seems to feel any pity for the boy's misery. He does not dare raise his voice on behalf of the child, who still thinks he can reach the omnibus with his aching little feet, for the other men are casting contemptuous, imperious looks at him, and he knows he can do nothing against their will. Stunned, his head in his hands, his elbows resting on his knees, he wonders if this is an example of human charity. Then he realizes that it is only an empty phrase which is no longer even to be found in the dictionary of poetry, and he freely admits his mistake. He says to himself, in fact, why should I be interested in this small child? Let us leave him behind. Yet a hot tear rolls down the cheek of this adolescent who has just blasphemed. Uneasy, he passes his hand across his brow, as if to push away a cloud whose opacity darkens his intelligence. He is struggling in vain in the century into which he has been thrown. He feels that this is not where he belongs, and yet he cannot get out. Terrible prison, dreadful fatality. Lombano, since that day I have been well pleased with you. I did not cease to observe you while my face appeared to be as indifferent as that of the other travelers. With an impulse of indignation, the adolescent gets up and wants to go away, so as not to participate, even unwillingly, in an evil action. I beckon him, and he comes to my side. It is disappearing. It is disappearing, but a shapeless form pursues it madly in its wake, amid the dust. Suddenly, the cries cease, for the child has tripped over a stone protruding from the road surface, and he has injured his head in falling. The omnibus has disappeared over the horizon, and all that can be seen now is the silent street. It is disappearing. It is disappearing, but a shapeless form no longer pursues it madly in its wake amid the dust. Behold, a ragman passing, bending over the child with his dim lantern in his hand. He has more goodness of heart than all his fellows in the omnibus. He has just lifted up the child. You may be sure that he will heal him, that he will not abandon him, as his parents did. It is disappearing. It is disappearing. But from where he is standing, the ragman's piercing look pursues it madly in its wake amid the dust. Stupid, idiotic race, you will regret having acted thus. It is I who tell you, you will regret it. My poetry will consist exclusively of attacks on man, that wild beast, and the Creator, who ought never to have bred such vermin. Volume after volume will accumulate till the end of my life, yet this single idea only will be found ever present in my mind.